So I'm going to do something that we did last week with the girls. Dear white people, dear black people, dear me. I want you to start with dear black people. Um, I can't tell you what to say. Just whatever comes to mind. What do you think you want black people to know about white people? What do you think you want black people to know about how you feel about their cause? What do you think you want black people to know about their life, just and their experiences? Um, have a think when you're ready.
I need to articulate this a little bit.
But I mean, you're going first, Joe.
Mine's quite simple.
Go on.
Just, dear black people, I love you, and you know I'm in this with you for the long haul, and not just for now, until you feel as equal as everybody.
Thank you. Who's going next? Dear black people.
Similar to Emma, dear black people, I stand with you in this, now, always will. I will continue to educate myself, to listen, to try to help other people to understand the situation, not how people feel, but to understand the challenges that keep coming up, to understand barriers, to be unapologetic in speaking to people and helping people to see, if they don't see that there's a problem, firstly to see that there's a problem, and then to have dialogue about how we can overcome this. So that, and as Emma said, it depends on what we want to achieve out of this, but surely equality is what we want to achieve out of this. And equality can look like many things. The equality of opportunity. Someone said something about equality of opportunity versus equality of outcome. It's not about outcome, it's about the opportunity being there for everyone, no matter what the colour of your skin is.
Lovely. Mine's quite succinct, really.
Words,
I'm
Joe.
I'm good with words. Dear black people, you know, we're here, we're listening, and we hear you. And that's it. That's all I've got to say. We're listening, and we hear you.
Okay, what do you want to say to your fellow white people?
Dear white people, we need to do better. We need to listen, but really listen, and you know, take account and take responsibility for our part in, you know, the race row, and strive to, you know, come together as one and to make a change.
Thank you. Dear white people.
Dear white people, be responsible for yourself, your actions, be responsible for learning, be kind, listen, and this is the big one, is always be willing to self-reflect. Always be willing to look at yourself and look at what you say, look at your actions, look at how you are putting change into action and helping to affect change.
That was my one. That was going to be my one.
So I got in there before you, Joseph.
You got it, mate. You got it. I would say, dear white people, look at what is going on in the world right now and ask why. What has happened to make black people so angry, so upset, so passionate that they've taken action as they have done so, and think, what can you do? Not so much what can you do to help, but just acknowledge that there is an issue, reflect and think, you know, is there any way in which I have contributed to this actively or passively, and what can I do to help, you know, to drive through a change in the future?
Brilliant. Everyone's so eloquent today. What's going on? Dear me.
Dear me. I think, dear me, continue to push for the movement, continue to listen to your friends and their stories and their experiences, continue to push for those conversations with white people, and continue to learn and to educate and discuss and keep the conversation going.
Thank you. Demi, Demi, shave my beard.
Beard staying.
Oh, good.
Dear me, listen, educate, and talk. And Steph, because I know you love this, and I really like the thing that you did, and I know you think I'll be taking a mick here with the whole neck thing you were talking about. I realise you can get let from that. Let it happen. Listen, educate, and talk, and keep the conversation going, and keep going back round in that order. Keep listening, keep educating, keep talking. It's educating yourself and educating those around you.
Okay, Joe, Demi.
Dear me, you've come quite a long way in the last few years, but there's still a long way to go. Never stop reflecting, never stop thinking, never stop asking questions, whether internal or external, and just carry on. Just looking within and looking without to see what you can do, and see what comes next.
Stephanie, have you got anything to add to your previous Dear Me's, or Dear White People and Dear Black People? Yeah, it doesn't have to be. I'm just saying in case.
No, but now that you're thinking about it, I think I probably should do it, because I can think of other things to say. They're Black people. White people can be more than allies. They can be friends. And I was also going to say, the second one was, they're Black people. Don't just choose white friends. Choose friends who are white. They're white people. Have conversations with yourself. It's not just about asking Black people what you need to do, what books you need to read, how can you help. At some point, you need to come together as white people and create a way forward. And dare me, keep the conversation going. Joe, just at the end of what Joe said up to his dare me, where do we go from here? What next?
I think, like Emma's said, is making sure that this isn't just a trend, a phase, there's something to do while we're all in lockdown. Making sure that this is actually something that we're saying with actual meaning. It's not superficial. There is actual genuine thought and substance to what we say and what we do. And I think just making sure that like we all say, keep that conversation going. In a month's time, if we're all back at work and life's back to normal, we don't just look back at George Floyd and all the activism of the last couple of weeks as something that happened in the spring of 2020, the summer of 2020, something that's just the start of the movement that we can keep it going. We can drive on and take what we've all learned over the last couple of weeks and keep it going, and just making sure that conversation is had and isn't dropped.
Okay.
Yeah, I think conversation is key. Keeping that conversation going, but also look, there's, as Mark was saying earlier, there's petitions going around, sign petitions. Do you agree? Do you disagree? And explore why. How do you actually feel about this? And if you believe in this change, sign it. There's one thing to say yes, I agree, but actively doing something about it, even if it is just signing a petition or donating to causes. I was looking as well, a lot of people say they don't have the money. You go on YouTube and search Black Lives Matters playlists and just have it on in the background, and like the money raised from that will go to causes and for people that are fighting for change as well. So actively doing, as well as conversation is part of actively doing, but actually doing something, signing those things, donating your time and money if you can, and not just letting that conversation die out.
Where do we go from here?
You know, so very similar to what and then Joe said, maybe in a slightly worded in a slightly different way. As we keep saying, you know, education is our platform. We all have a responsibility to move it along into action, into changing curriculum and changing what we teach and how we teach it. That's one aspect of society. If you look at, you know, policing, if you look at criminal justice, if you look at the health service, if you look at further and higher education, that there needs to be that structural change there as well. Now, that's not something that in our professional lives that we can affect it through having conversations with people that we know that work within those organizations and pushing the agenda with them and not allowing them to forget it, so that in their organization or the world that they operate within, that they also can affect a positive change in those structures that we sort of have in society. You know, I echo totally what Joe and Emma say about keeping the conversation going, and that's where it's going to come from. It's going to come from conversation, but then something has to happen with that conversation. It can't just be a conversation. It has to be more. And if that change is going to happen, then it has to be in every aspect. It can't just be in education, because then what? Once those children are educated and then they leave education and then they go into a system that is still structurally or institutionally racist, they're like, well, what did I do all that for? Mm-hmm. What did we do all that for? It has to be sustainable. It has to be sustained. Everyone has to have a shared, I don't want to say goal or vision, because, you know, we keep saying we're not sure what we want it to look like, but everyone has to take part in a shared responsibility for this. And the role that we can play in this is making people see that, opening people's eyes that are maybe closed at the moment to seeing that the responsibility has to be a shared one.
You know, ever since I did the recording last week, I've just been thinking about it, because I'm not someone that just likes to talk, and I think conversation is so important. Mm-hmm. But I'm always thinking there has to be something else. So every day I've been going, so what next? So you're having these conversations, and yes, that's good, but what do you want to happen? What's the outcome? And I was thinking, I need to create something where people can actively engage. Most of the people that I've spoken to have a shared interest in education, and I'm passionate about that. So that's going to be one element of it, and just kind of coming together and us having to kind of co-create something. I think this is what will make the change sustainable. We need to do it together. It's not just about Black people doing things on this side and then white people doing things on that side. And I think there's a space for all of that. But I'm thinking about, for myself, what do I want to happen? I want to see that collaborative work. I want to see us co-creating the new. I want to see us working together to kind of create something that represents a world that we all want to live in. But we'll have a separate conversation about that. And that's it. That's the end of our conversation. Before you go, I was looking through the messages I've sent to all of you. And honestly, they made me laugh. They made me laugh because they're so irreverent. and I just think sometimes we think about these things, it's so serious, and and it really is, and they're difficult conversations to have. But I just think sometimes we miss the element of fun. It doesn't mean I'm not going to call you white people. It doesn't mean I'm not going to call you white wolf. It doesn't mean I'm not going to call you colonizer. I'm just exposing my business on.
I was wondering how long it was going to take for you to say white wolf. I'm surprised it's taken this long.
I was trying so hard to not be like this, but this is my true self. And I think I'm being transparent, because that is what friendship is. Mm. Friendship isn't me pretending that you're not white. I'm not blind. I can see that you're white. Friendship and understanding equality and understanding equity and understanding fairness and justice doesn't mean that I don't see your difference. It doesn't mean that I can't celebrate that. It doesn't mean that I don't understand and acknowledge that you have different life experiences. And that's not necessarily a negative thing. I think all of this can be functional and fun. We can genuinely celebrate our differences and also kind of poke fun at it. The fact that you can't be in the sun for as long and look as fine as me, I get it. I get all of that. I get it. I get that every time the sun comes out, Joe needs to roll up his sleeve and sit right in the sun. Like, not in the sun, on the sun.
Gotta do it.
But I think this is the way forward. Seeing the difference, laughing at it, and kind of keeping it going. So, given the fact that it's like almost 9 o'clock on a Saturday, thank you so much. My friend.
Steph, thank you for having me. Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
Yeah, I feel really privileged
Really nice.
if you ask me. If I'm honest.
The white privilege coming out.
White privilege, here we go. And on that note.
What a way to end.
All right, guys. See you in a bit.
Okay, bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.